So between November 2023 to June mid, we did feel the impact, wherein almost 154,000 layoffs happened across the top companies. And AI definitely contributed to it. So there is definitely that apprehension. But these days, what is happening is management of certain companies are upskilling their employees, which is helping them to retain the talent and also to become part of that AI transformation.
Welcome to the Conversations on Applied AI podcast, where Justin Grammans and the team at Emerging Technologies North talk with experts in the fields of artificial intelligence and deep learning. In each episode, we cut through the hype and dive into how these technologies are being applied to real-world problems today. We hope that you find this episode educational and applicable to your industry, and connect with us to learn more about our organization at appliedai.mn. Enjoy.
Welcome, everyone, to the Conversations on Applied AI podcast. Today, we're talking with Ayisha Tabbassum. Ayisha is a visionary technology leader with more than 10 years of experience in driving business-infused technology initiatives and digital transformation in large enterprises. She's the founder and CEO of One Stop for Cloud, Senior Vice President at the New World Foundation, and holds a Master's in Computer Science from Indiana University Bloomington with multiple cloud certifications. Always someone to give back, she has been involved with the Applied AI community for years. She has spoken at our Applied AI conference, she's led sessions at our workshop Wednesday, and is both passionate about learning new technologies and staying up to date with the latest trends in cloud computing and DevOps in AI. Thank you, Ayisha, for being on the Conversations on Applied AI podcast today.
Oh, thank you so much, Justin. It's always exciting to have the conversation with you on the latest trending technologies in the field of AI. And now the AGI is also evolving.
Well, yeah, no, we're going to get into all sorts of stuff today. Yeah, I love having conversations with thought leaders like yourself. You know, we're more than 100 episodes into this thing. We've been doing this since 2020. So it's been a lot of fun. And so you're somebody that I think we tried to set up some time to talk a couple months back. It just didn't work. So I'm glad here in 2025 we're able to talk. I gave a little bit of background on yourself, but I'm wondering if you could maybe share a little bit about maybe how you got to where you are.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the opportunity, Justin. So working with Applied AI has always been a pleasure because it's a forum that truly believes in giving back to the community by educating them on the latest technology trends. And I've been part of the in-person conferences and also the in-person sessions that happens with the technology leaders across Minnesota and also across United States. And they've been really impactful. And also the workshop Wednesdays was also an awesome initiative wherein we did see large audience educating themselves and also educating others by sharing the technology trends and AI, which was truly amazing.
Awesome. Yes. And thank you for lending your experience to running those things. Now, your focus a lot is in DevOps and AI. And you went to Indiana University, Bloomington. How did you get from your computer science degree kind of into DevOps and AI? I mean, obviously you said Applied AI was a part of it. What were some of the things you did along the way, though? Like, what was the trajectory of your career? Did you have other jobs along the way?
Yes, so I completed my bachelor's in 2014, after which I started my career with Macy's. I started with middleware technologies, and then I was part of L1, L2, L3, and L4 teams where I got exposure hands-on on multiple technology stacks like cloud computing, DevOps, DevSecOps, and I was also the operations advocate for change management, which kind of gave me end-to-end visibility, starting from the development to the release pipelines, having the source code management and the deployment platforms, the CI/CD platforms like Jenkins, UDeploy, GitHub Actions, and then Rundeck, and now Harness, which is another CD tool. And that being said, I spent some 5 years in India, and then I did my master's in Indiana in computer science, after which I started working with Intel. And with Intel, it was truly an amazing experience wherein we had our infrastructure hosted on multiple cloud platforms such as Azure and AWS. And I was designing the centralized observability platform. primarily. And then I also did FinOps for them and contributed towards automation of provisioning, deprovisioning, and bootstrapping of cloud infrastructure and on prem infrastructure. So that is where it was truly exciting to actually identify the problems and come up with the most efficient solutions in the shortest span of time possible. So that's how throughout my career, primarily I've been into multi cloud platforms and also DevOps. And from past 2 years, with the trends in AI being embedded and integrated into multiple domains and also into multiple technology roles, whether it is in development or testing or automation, DevOps, DevSecOps, AIOps, MLOps. I started attending applied AI events wherein I got the foundational concepts, and on top of which I did my own research, went through a lot of technology documentation, and did my research and published my papers and came up with around 10 patents, again in AI and multi cloud architecture. So I think now when I reflect back, I'm able to connect the dots wherein I met right people, some amazing technology leaders and community leaders like Justin and Steven, Grant, Dan, lot of them, right? They've been my inspiration.
Oh, good.
And then most exciting and most curious sessions were on LangChain and also Google's Vertex AI Studio, wherein we have these model gardens to actually play around on different type of models, various data sets, and gauging the accuracy and efficiency of the outputs that we derive by using different models that Google is offering, like, Gemma 1, Gemma 1.5, and also ChatGPT. OpenAI is offering like 3, 3.5, 4, 4.0, so on and so forth. So that's how, at this point, I feel a bit confident on the evolving technologies and the emerging technologies. I was fortunate enough to have been given opportunities by various top conferences, wherein I spoke in 15 conferences in the year 2024. And this year I have 3 proposals accepted. Again, all are centered around AI, multi cloud, cybersecurity in different domains like retail, healthcare. So I think the opportunities are great and it's a crucial time. Everybody starting from Satya Nadella from Microsoft, Sundar Pichai, or Sam Altman, everybody is talking about AI getting deeply integrated into the technology stack. And companies across the globe are going through AI transformation. So it's very important for us to identify the new roles wherein we upskill ourselves with the associated AI technology that we would need to do our job.
Did you say 10 patents? Is that what you were saying?
Yes.
So you filed for 10 patents around AI, like specific use cases on how AI is being used?
Yes.
That's fabulous. That's awesome. Did you want to share any? You don't have to. I was just curious if there was one that you thought was interesting.
Absolutely, yes. I, along with my co-inventors, we came up with 4 patents in cybersecurity. And we also came up with another 4 patents, 2 design and 2 utilities on AI and data analytics for remote patient monitoring and also some of the clinical support systems, which are like highly sought after and very impactful. So whenever we team together for a patent or a innovation or an invention, we always look for something that has high impact or that is solving some of the challenges that our community is facing. Healthcare being the most noble field, any contribution that is improving the diagnosis, improving patients' life, making healthcare more affordable, I think is definitely worth the efforts.
That's fabulous. That's great. Yeah. That's the most number of patents that I think out of anybody that I've talked to on the program that's been filed. So that's very smart to come at it from that angle. Obviously, number one, I love the going after healthcare because that is definitely a space that can help all of us because either one shape or form, we're all sort of dependent on good quality healthcare. But it's also obviously a field where there's just too many people and not enough healthcare professionals. So I see AI having a huge positive impact in that space.
Yes, especially the virtual assistants, the clinical support system, because we do have the publications that are very that has healthcare as their niche, like Mayo Clinic have their own publications. But at the same time, getting the data from different reliable data sources and coming up with the most accurate diagnostic results, which enables a doctor who might be in the beginning of his career or her career and is able to detect the disease or identify the disease more accurately rather than relying just on the memory, I think is a wonderful use case.
Yes, for sure, for sure. You mentioned about, speaking at conferences. I mean, have you spoken at some of the healthcare conferences around town here? I can't recall. I know I saw you at the, what was that? The software, the Midwest Architecture Council, right? The MAC conference, you spoke there. But what other ones have you done?
I've spoken at Applied AI, then I spoke at Open Source North, Midwest Architecture Community Collaboration. I was part of the organizing committee.
Oh, yeah.
And then I also was a panelist at Camp IT conference in Chicago. It was Architectures Meet. And then I spoke at international IEEE conferences in Michigan. I presented almost 10 papers in the international conference, which was held in 2 different states in India in the year 2024. In the month of May, I'll be presenting at TechWell's Star East conference. Again, the theme is on AI, and it is more on the testing side.
Sure.
Right.
I'm just thinking about your career, right? Were you much of a person to go out and present at a lot of things before this, or is this something new for you? You're like, I'm just going to take this on and I'm just going to start speaking and writing papers and doing all this stuff.
This was the only thing I knew. I loved public speaking. I was very active. And then eventually, even in my bachelor's, I presented papers and won some national level and state level and regional level competitions on technical themes. And after which, I was more focused on career. And during my master's, I had the opportunity. I presented whenever I can. But from past 1.5 years is where I restarted my public speaking journey with the goal of creating an impact through value education. And then I started the mentorship on TopMate as well. Fortunately, I'm rated 4.9 out of 5, and I was rated top 50 experts and top 1% of the mentors, which was very encouraging. Looking at the positive testimonials and feedback really boosted my spirit to do more for the community. And of course, Justin is always my inspiration. What he does, I cannot match it, but I truly derive my, motivation from him. He's always available for the community.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Yeah, no, I was coming at it from the standpoint too of like, this seems like something, if I was just coming out of college, for example, or changing careers, is this something you might recommend other people that are moving into this field maybe do more of? Because I don't see it enough, I don't think. People speaking or people, like you said, presenting papers, it takes a lot of time and effort, but I feel like it's very rewarding.
Definitely is, because I met some great people and, I built great relationships. I learned a lot. And the most important factor is when we are sharing our knowledge, it just passes on. It solves a lot of problems that the other individuals who are part of different tech companies might be facing. It's in turn a great platform or a great source to actually create an impact in others' lives at an individual level, and also making that contribution and solving some of the exciting technology challenges we have is in itself very rewarding.
Yeah.
And it brings great joy for the one who does it.
Yes. I was just trying to think of some quote. There are a lot of quotes around this concept of you feel like you're giving so much, but it's actually you that ends up feeling the best, right? It's the person that gives actually is the one that wins at the end of the day. Yeah, I wish more people would do that. And I also think, as going back to what I was saying, I think most people coming out of school, they don't really understand that That is a huge lever that anyone can do. They have to think, oh, I need a certification or I need a degree, or I don't think so. I think, like you maybe have found, you just put your name in the hat, submit the topic, and you will be surprised, right? If you have something worthwhile to say, people will listen. So it's fabulous that you're able to do this so much. You're able to get around too.
True, true. Every acceptance of a proposal is a new and exciting feeling. It brings the same amount of joy as my first acceptance, especially in the technical conferences, which are well established. The number of proposals they receive is in terms of more than 500 plus, but the acceptance rate is hardly 5 or 10%. So that kind of makes it more rewarding, wherein whatever work we are doing is actually worth enough to be presented in front of a quality audience.
Yes, for sure.
So come up with great questions.
Well, let's turn a little bit to CI/CD pipelines or ML ops or some of that type of stuff. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Like, what do you think has changed, I guess, since ChatGPT came out? Because it feels like no one really talked about AI, but then ChatGPT sort of hit the market, and this whole idea around what we also maybe say is generative AI. That was the big thing, was now we can actually use Gen AI to do all these things. How have you seen the field of cloud computing and all the stuff that you work in around infrastructure sort of change using Gen AI?
That's a very good question, Justin. So, based on my experience working with different clients post AI era or during the AI era, and also having spoken to the leaders from other companies in the conferences, this is what I see as a common approach that's being adopted by the companies. The very first thing, they don't want their employees to use the chat GPT because there is no data privacy. And that is why they're coming up with their own in-house virtual assistants, wherein they feed the data onto the storage that is well secured, whether on-prem or on their own cloud accounts. And we can create our personas and actually ask questions and get responses. That is what I see at companies like Pfizer and Wells Fargo, PNC, so on and so forth. So this is the first change that I am seeing. And secondly, the cloud providers and especially the top cloud providers like Google Cloud Platform or Microsoft Azure or AWS, they're smart enough, and that is why they're market leaders. And what they have done is they've included predictive analytics in their commonly used platforms like Azure Kubernetes Service or Elastic Kubernetes Service from AWS or Google Kubernetes Engine, wherein in terms of auto scaling, it is able to predict the load with at least 90% accuracy by looking at the results over the past 6 months or 3 years or a year based on the duration we set. Right. So that's also an interesting feature that's based on AI and that's already integrated in the services that are widely used by the customers. And next, most of the customers, they are into observability, right, where monitoring is highly critical for auditing and also for resource optimization and cost optimization. That being said, the key leaders in observability are Dynatrace, Splunk, New Relic, Datadog, so on and so forth. So what these companies are doing is they're offering AI ops as a service, wherein they had this ticketing system, inventory management system, asset management system, and the Scrum tracking system. And what they're doing is they're including AI capabilities wherein it is able to do the real time analytics on the existing data set that we have. What that does is it comes up with a pattern wherein it will list the frequency of occurrence of a particular incident over the duration of the time we set, like 3 months or 6 months. And what is the resolution? What is the best remediation that can be applied and how it can be prevented? So, likewise, what this does is as we scale the same concept, suppose we had 50% incidents over a duration of 6 months, and the uniqueness was like probably 20 unique incidents, right? And the occurrence might be like the first incident occurring 20 times, and the second incident occurring like 15 times, third incident occurring like 10 times, so on and so forth. So, Once we analyze the pattern, we identify the most commonly occurring issues and we identify the most applicable solution and come up with the remediation measures so that the probability of having that incident comes down significantly and our overall compliance needs, right? We are able to achieve the goal of 100% compliance. So this helps a lot, especially in the large scale infrastructures. The compliance needs are very high. The companies use tools like Wiz.io, Aquinox, which kind of does the scans of different services, whether it is on prem or multiple cloud platforms, and it will list out all the vulnerabilities like critical, high, medium, low vulnerabilities. So when we are feeding that into our AI platform and we are asking the right prompts as to what is the occurrence of a particular incident, what was the remediation, and what was the impact. And after the fix is applied, did it reoccur? And how can we prevent it from happening again? So, proactive issue identification and proactive issue resolution boosts the brand value and in turn brings more business revenue.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I can see that. Do people get worried about all of this automation happening without humans being involved in some ways? Are you seeing people in your field be worried about losing their jobs or not becoming very relevant?
So, between November 2023 to June mid, we did feel the impact, wherein almost 154,000 layoffs happened across the top companies. And AI definitely contributed to it. So there is definitely that apprehension. But these days, what is happening is management of certain companies are upskilling their employees, which is helping them to retain the talent and also to become part of that AI transformation, wherein things are going hand in hand. So there is definitely AI integrated into it, but when it comes to critical infrastructure, whether it is at the architecture level or whether it is at the provisioning at a very large scale level or coding level, AI is acting as a personal assistant, but AI is unable to replace the humans. In the sense, there is this complexity involved when it comes to architecture implementation if it's a microservice based architecture. So if we ask AI to code for a particular microservice, it will produce the code, but it cannot connect the complete dots, wherein human coders are needed to integrate it with the other layers like web layers, app layers, data layers. So in that way, I think a person who knows AI as well as technology would get the most benefits in the
Gotcha.
coming months.
I feel like the same thing too. I mean, obviously, there are going to be jobs that are going to be eliminated, but I feel like your job's just going to change. So, a lot of those mundane tasks hopefully will just be automated away, and then you can focus on that's no longer part of your job anymore, right? It's just gone because it's been automated away. And so then the question is then the hope is obviously you're going to upskill. Yes, you're right. I think and everyone needs to sort of use these tools as sort of their co-pilots to make them even more efficient in this world.
Absolutely, yes. The virtual assistants are a great tool for technical documentation, for data analysis, for predictive analytics, for observability, for coming up with the infrastructure as code modules. And it helps even a beginner to transition to become an expert in much lesser time compared to an era where there was no AI.
Yeah, for sure. Now, are you working with companies on updating models like out in production as well? I mean, that's when I think of like ML ops, for example, you might have a model that's built and obviously over time it needs to be retrained and redeployed. Do you see that as a growing area as well for people to learn and get into?
So, in two of my clients, I saw the AI ops adoption. So, when it comes to ML ops, the machine learning engineers with PhD degrees are given primary preference. And for technical people like me who have been hands on the technology stack, whether it's on cloud or DevOps or DevSecOps, it's more of the AI ops that's under scope. And mostly the enterprises are already exploring and coming up with the pilot projects. We have this data bricks. There is exploration happening on AI hardware, compatibility with the existing microservices. So there is this exploration happening phase by phase and also adoption happening phase by phase by removing the security hiccups and data leak concerns and accuracy concerns and impact concerns.
Sure, sure.
So, yeah, I think it's following that positive linear trend.
And you said the accuracy concerns. Yeah, I mean, obviously, these models need to be continually evaluated over time. So, do you build a series of tests so you can sort of continually sort of test the model and understand when it's drifting in some of these large scale systems? Is that a technique that's kind of used these days?
So I remember 2 years back when I was using Splunk, which is a common logging tool used by most of the enterprises for its very good features of analysis at application level. So we are able to fine tune it using queries and having the conditional statements and filters applied. So for a person who is just onboarding and who has no prior experience, it might have taken months to actually learn how to write proper queries. But with AI adoption, they can just write a prompt as to what they're actually looking for, what is the app name, and feed the Splunk documentation for the format of the query and just reference it and say, like, come up with a query for the API calls that were successful over the last 7 days for this application in production and QA and pre-prod environments. It's more of a enabler. I
Yeah.
think it's doing a great job, but people still have to realize more. It's going to take some time. I've also seen some of the folks within the projects I work, they have only heard what is AI, but they have not explored it much. I know they are great in their technology, but the AI wave is everywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
And that being said, I think it's important for each and every one of us to get hands on onto these tools and learn how to use them for right scenarios and right case studies.
That opens up a good question. I was just thinking about this as you were talking. What are some use cases where you maybe don't want to use AI? Have you seen examples like that?
Yeah, especially in the production systems, wherein we have this disaster recovery solutions where the same set of infrastructure and same set of services are hosted on multiple data centers within the same cloud or split between multiple clouds. We see both the scenarios. So, in critical times, say for example, there is a natural disaster in California, and probably we might have a data center that is down there. We need to move the traffic to another data center in a safer location, say Minnesota, right? So, that being said, in critical times like this, we cannot rely on AI because a human intervention is needed to identify the right time where there is minimal impact to the traffic or absolutely no impact, because there is always this service level agreements that are in place about keeping up the websites live without having a downtime. So identifying such critical scenarios where human intervention is a must to do the proper judgment of a situation is one area. And the second area is in federal sectors. There is a lot of technology that has come up in the defense sector, right, in terms of weapons or drones. And having control over such technologies is highly crucial. They're based on AI, but when it's a human life, it's very valuable. And that being said, giving that free hand for such systems to have the monopoly to operate by itself is highly dangerous and risky. There needs to be some control on that as well, is what I feel.
No, that makes a lot of sense. What I've seen is like there's nuanced decisions, and humans sometimes understand these nuances, whereas an AI algorithm or a large language model or something like that is very much about the data, right? And there are some times where a human can understand, you're right, based on this particular scenario, it just feels better to switch the traffic over at this time of day or whatever, whereas the data maybe wouldn't say that, right? So there just isn't enough data about that. So yeah, I mean, there's just some very logical things that humans are like. And that's where I think sometimes AI can fall down. As I've been sort of reading a lot about this, there's a book that I like to quote called Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick, where he talks about this jagged frontier of AI. And there's some things that AI is, you're completely blown away by it, right? It can write all this interesting poetry and can make music and do some really crazy creative things. But then, you ask it how many R's are in the word strawberry and it'll get it wrong, right? Or at least it used to. People are like, all of a sudden, like, why can't it just figure out this one simple thing, right? So yeah, there are some definitely nuanced decisions that I think AI falls down, and those are places not to be using it.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Justin.
What's a typical day for you?
My weekdays are mostly busy with my projects.
Yeah.
So currently, I work for a fintech sector. Our applications are microservice based and they're hosted on Azure. And we also have some release pipelines in place. And we are following a golden path pipeline. We are migrating from one tool to another tool with advanced features. My mornings are usually with the status calls. And then we have our tasks assigned. And there's a lot of collaboration meetings that happen during the first half of the day. And then my afternoons are mostly on updating the code or coming up with the new code for automation of the release pipelines and golden path migration. And then I spend 2 hours after my work on reading or conducting research, again on AI and multi-cloud. And then I write papers, I identify the conference, submit proposals, plan my months and weeks in advance.
Yeah, that's great. I do want all of our listeners to understand that you have a passion for learning is what I'd like them to sort of see. And that's what people need to have. They need to be continuous learners over time. And here's someone who obviously you not only speak it, but you do it. So you spend a lot of time not just doing the 9-to-5 job, you're spending a lot of time outside of that, educating yourself and continually learning new things. So
I'm available on LinkedIn. I also have my TalkMate profile. My email is also listed on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So if they want to have a one-on-one discussion, they can just schedule a session on TalkMate. All of my sessions are free because I love mentorship. I do it for the joy of it. And I think it's a two-way learning. So I met some of the technical experts on the platform who reached out to me for some kind of mentorship or for identifying opportunities. But still, they gave me a lot of information that maybe I wouldn't have come across without them. So it's been equally rewarding for me as well.
That's perfect. We have notes. We have liner notes in all of our podcasts. So I will get all your links off to your LinkedIn and your email address. Whatever you want to share with me, Ayisha, after this podcast, I'll have you send it all to me. We'll make sure that people can click on them and follow you. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about that I probably missed? Probably missed a lot for sure, but I've just always want to...
No, I think we covered most of the things, Justin.
I always want people to sort of share, if I'm just coming out of school, what should I do? I sensed a lot of the stuff we talked about at the beginning around making sure that you do some research, obviously write papers and patents. That's fabulous that you do that. Get out and speak and meet people. Obviously, in-person events are really good. It's been a big, obviously, piece of your career as well. You said as you were growing up, you were always one to sort of speak. Was that something in your family?
So I've been an introvert since childhood. I had my friends participating in singing and dancing. I was never into it, but I mostly loved speaking in front of the audience. So my father used to write the speeches for me in my primary and high school. But then when I got into the technical education, I started doing my own research and my teachers helped me. So that habit just built in. And here, of course, you gave me an opportunity on Workshop Wednesday for my Gemini AI session, which gave me a lot of confidence to go and explore further opportunities. And I think the journey just continued. You played a very big role, Justin. Thank you so much for that. I'm very grateful.
So it's fabulous. It's definitely great. And obviously you're giving back. So you're continuing to sort of spread the love. That's great. Ayisha, again, thank you so much for being on the program. I know people are going to get a lot out of this. Like I say, we'll make sure that we put links and everything to all the awesome work that you're doing out in the community. Make sure we have that. And look forward to having you at a future Applied AI conference, and probably going to catch you here in 2025. You said you are already signed up for 3 different events. Is that what you said?
My proposal is accepted for 2 IEEE and Techwell Star East. So I'm waiting for the summer Applied AI conference to submit a new proposal, maybe on AGI.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fabulous. We're always looking for people from the community to present. Well, Ayisha, thanks again for being on the program, and we'll definitely keep in touch.
You've listened to another episode of the Conversations on Applied AI podcast. We hope you are eager to learn more about applying artificial intelligence and deep learning within your organization. You can visit us at appliedai.mn to keep up to date on our events and connect with our amazing community. Please don't hesitate to reach out to Justin at appliedai.mn if you are interested in participating in a future episode. Thank you for listening.